Hey trumpet players, my name is Miss Svendson and I am a band teacher here in Grand Forks Public Schools. Today I'm here just to walk you through this trumpet solo, Vega. I wanted to start by kind of dissecting the different sections and walking you through kind of the roadmap. So let's start by just kind of starting right at the beginning. Our tempo here at the beginning is andante, and so that means walking tempo, not too fast. And in this first section, we have a lot of different tempo markings for us to note. These RITs, that stands for ritardando, meaning we're going to slow down in those spots. And so at the end of this video, I'll do a whole play along with you, and we'll dissect each section individually as well. But those spots you'll notice we want to slow down during. Once we hit this moderato, that means moderate tempo, and that's a bit faster than that andante tempo. All right, so we're going to pick up the pace here. We also switch meter here, going from our 4/4 or common time to our 2/4, 2 beats per measure. So that section will be a little bit quicker. We'll have a little bit of a different feel. Then we'll hit the trio. We're still in 2/4, still about the same tempo. All right, and then biggest thing here as far as roadmap, I want us to pay attention to this DS. You're going to go back to this measure here, the moderato. Then you're going to play these 3 lines, find this little symbol, the coda symbol, and then go down to the coda. So again, we have starting slow, we go to the moderato, we play. Once we hit this DS, we're throwing it back to the moderato, to this symbol, going to the coda. The first section, I'm going to call section 1, is from the beginning to the moderato. Okay, we see the word cantabile. That means singing like. Okay, so we're going to try to sing through our trumpets. We want to make some really beautiful music here together. And obviously, to start, you're going to want to solidify the notes and the rhythms. I don't know why this is highlighted. There we go. So solidifying the notes and the rhythms, I just wanted to take a second to review a couple pitches here, perhaps. So obviously, we're in F major. We have a B flat, means all of our B's are going to be played with our first valve, unless there's a natural sign in front of them like we have here. Then we're going to play those B naturals, which would be second valve. There's 2 other notes in here that might throw us for a loop. The first one's an F sharp. We play that with our second valve. It's not a normal F, it's an F sharp. And then we have this wonky A flat down here, which we play with our second and third valve. Okay? Cantabile, like I said, means singing like. And I think there's a lot of things in here that could help us play it that way. We have so many dynamics marked. So piano, we're going to start soft. We actually decrescendo here towards the end of the phrase. We start the next phrase mezzo forte. We have a forte marking here, decrescendoing into a piano. I like to think of this section in 2-bar phrases, meaning every single 2 bars, we're making some really cool music. So think about each 2 bars as an opportunity to kind of sing through your trumpet, making it the most beautiful you can possibly make it while following the dynamics and the ritardandos and things there. So I'm going to play the cantabile section. I encourage you to play along with me. Try to catch some of these dynamic changes, feel how we're moving through these 2-bar phrases. All right, so here we go from the cantabile. 1 and 2, and here we go. Awesome. Hopefully you felt that we were kind of singing and being really emotional through our instruments. I also think, I forgot to address this beforehand, but right here it says faster. I think it's really natural for us to try to push that tempo just a little bit there in the more active part, and then slow down to the end. So I encourage you to work on this section, being really musical with these dynamics, these various tempo changes. Sing through your trumpet. The last piece of advice I would offer you in this section, and if you're not someone who's used to this, that's okay, but it's good practice as a trumpet player. On our Ds, and we have lots of Ds in this section, you might have noticed me actually, mine stuck a little bit when we went through that. On our Ds, we want to kick out, we call it kicking out, we push it out, our third valve slide a little bit. D is naturally a quite sharp note, and so to play more in tune, whenever we play a D, we want to pop that little valve out and it'll be more in tune. For section 2, obviously this part, the moderato to the trio, is a little bit more active than the last. So we should really start by solidifying the rhythms and the notes. And in order to do that, we might want to slow things down a little bit. So I think a good goal tempo for our moderato tempo would be quarter note equals 88, but perhaps we want to slow it down to even quarter note equals 60. And I'll show you what I mean by that. It's actually pretty simple. So if you'll notice, all I did was put into Google metronome. It's really easy. And then we can set it to 60, for example. And then it'll click for us. So to get the notes and the rhythms down in this section, I would really recommend that you practice with this metronome. I'll show you what I mean. So if this is the tempo we're choosing, we can practice it slow. 1, 2, ready. And that's going to really help you solidify those notes and those rhythms at this slower tempo. Now, you heard me say earlier, I think a good tempo for moderato would be about 88. So let me play that for you. So eventually we want to get it to about here. Ready? Right? And so obviously it's not going to happen just like that, but those are some goals for you. In order for us to really be awesome at this section, I think there's a couple things we need to consider. First, make sure that after you get the notes and the rhythms down, you're careful to watch your staccatos. I think the shortness in these and the lightness of these really make this section cool. All right. I also think that we can kind of approach this in 4-bar phrases. So thinking about these 4 measures as a musical sentence and not breathing until the end of each 4 measures. I think that'll give you some direction as well. And then lastly, of course, we have these beautiful dynamics that are helping us make some music in addition to those articulations. So try to watch all of those things. I'm going to play it for you, this section. There's a big play along at the end, but I'll play this section for you at about quarter note equals 88. Okay? Feel free to play along with me. 1, 2, ready. Section 3 is labeled trio, and you'll see this word a lot of times in different marches. They're often in marches, and in a trio you can almost always expect for there to be a key change, and this is no exception. So if you'll look, we went from playing just B flats to now B flats and E flats. So if I can remind you, an E flat is played with our 2nd and 3rd valve. Okay, this section gets a little crazy because sometimes, if you'll notice right here, they marked E naturals. So then we get to play the E that we really like to play, which is 1 and 2. But then, like for example, right here, we have to remember that that's an E flat. Okay, there's also an E flat right here and here and here. So they're kind of making this a little tricky for us, marking some E naturals and then expecting us to know our E flats for the rest. We already talked about this F sharp fingering. We had it up here as well, second valve. Otherwise, I think the hardest part about this section is obviously getting our fingers moving nice and fast in those 16th notes, kind of like the last section, but also getting our fingers to move fast between our E flats. So in general, on the trumpet, our third finger, the one that plays D and E flat, is kind of sluggish. It doesn't move very fast like we want it to. My advice for you there, obviously, is to first practice those sections with the E flats and the Ds to train your fingers to move faster. But I like to say we need to have our right hand in a very curvy C shape. And this might be new to you, but I have found the best success with fast fingers by putting my thumb in between my first and second valve rather than way up in here, because I feel that that gives me a really curvy fingers and really good hand position to move quickly. Do you notice? It's kind of hard maybe on a screen. This is really curvy and fast, but if I put my thumb, way in here, my fingers are kind of flat and I might be hitting more with my knuckles. We want to be hitting with our fingertips. Curvy, curvy fingers. Okay? So I think this trio section should also be at about quarter note equals 88. But of course, to start, we should slow it down. Slow it down. So maybe at first we want to practice 1 E and a 2 and 1 and 1 E and a 2 and 1, just to get our fingers really good. Let's try just the first 4 measures slow. 1 and 2 and here we go. Right? And then eventually we can go ta 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 ta, really nice and light and fast. Let's try it faster. 1 E and a 2 and here we go. Right? So please practice with a metronome slow and then work your way up to a faster tempo. The only other things I wanted to point out is our awesome dynamics here. We do have decrescendos that lead us into piano dynamics. We have a crescendo that leads us into a forte. And so be careful that once you know your notes and your rhythms, that you add those dynamics. Also, I think these staccatos, just as in the previous section, are really, really important. Those are things to add as we get more comfortable with the notes and the rhythms as well. Let's play the trio together, up tempo. So maybe you want to work on it for a week and then try it with this video a little bit faster. Here we go. 1 and 2 and here we go. Awesome. Those are the big 3 sections, I think, in this piece, and hopefully you can dissect them kind of with the video. Again, just remember that once we get to hear this crazy sign, we are going to go back to this moderato section, play to this little symbol here, and then boogie down to the coda.